Right. Should we start, Vincent? What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Shall I start with the introduction?
Yeah, I can do that, of course.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar, OpsLogic's webinar, SCOM and Grafana. Is it a perfect fit? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in this meeting. And we plan to not make it too long because we don't want to bore you. But on the other hand, if it takes more time, then we'll take all the time we need to talk to everybody. So my name is Vincent de Vries, and with me I have Jonas Lenntun, and both of us are partners at OpsLogix, and both of us are also tech enthusiasts. So we're always trying to look at the latest technology. We're going to have the meeting about, well, SCOM and Grafana, and also especially about the SCOM exporter we created for SCOM data. We're going to be talking about that, and we're going to be doing some demos. So without further ado, Jonas, please take it away.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining, and sorry that we had to delay 1 week the meeting, and the reason was for me. So if I start to cough today, you know the reason for that. So then Vincent would just help me to fill in some of the blanks, just so you know that. So today's session is to discuss a little bit about where SCOM fits in a modern monitoring strategy. You all know that we have been working with SCOM for many years now, and we still are. And we wanted to showcase a little bit about, just extending SCOM with other possibilities, maybe a little bit outside as well of the Microsoft ecosystem, and especially then when it comes to Grafana. So we had a lot of discussions with different partners, with customers, and to see, they are still very committed to SCOM. They want to see how they can modernize their existing monitoring solution without actually having to rip everything apart, because many of you have a lot of both time and money invested in your monitoring solution, but there is, of course, more things that you would like to do in the future as well. So this is what we are going to talk about today. So talk about SCOM. As you all know, it has, the strength within SCOM is still the benefit of working with the whole Microsoft ecosystem, the management packs, the deployments, the third-party vendors, all the stuff that we have done. That's still a huge benefit of SCOM compared to other vendors out there. And I think that's also one of the reasons why you still are using SCOM today. We asked a lot of people if, what are the other alternatives? And even though they might be looking at other alternatives, they don't see too many of them that could actually just be as good as SCOM is for the purpose that it brings today, at least. Another thing that is, a lot of people are talking about is, where to store the data, right, Vincent? That's a big part of this whole setup as well.
Yeah, that's correct. So one of the big parts of SCOM and why it's still very popular is one of the parts is data sovereignty. And by data sovereignty, we mean that you can place your data privately. So that could be on-premise, or maybe in another private cloud solution, or a more public cloud solution, but that you're not really dependent on any of the big clouds, and that you don't know or that you have no real idea where your data is actually at. So that's also one of the big benefits of SCOM, and basically, SCOM is only an on-premise product at this point in time. Still, there are some efforts to put it into the cloud, but the majority of people who work with it will work with it on-premise.
Yes. Well, and of course, there have been a lot of things that Microsoft have done over the years trying to modernize SCOM. We talked about this in an earlier meeting, like application performance monitoring to bring that type of stuff in. We do see a lot of the things that were included in a couple of, recently in the years, they have been kind of left out. Most of the stuff has been more in development towards Azure Monitor instead. Which is cloud-based monitoring. And even if some of the organizations still are in the cloud transition, that doesn't mean that they're actually going into the Microsoft cloud. So yeah, it has a strong point where it lives today, but maybe it's lacking a little bit behind when it comes to like more cloud native workloads and that type of stuff. So let's talk about some of the new monitoring expectations that we hear from managers, from teams out there working today. We do see a lot of more application-centric observability, that you kind of put your application in the center and you want to see everything that's happening around that specific application. And you, of course, want to see more real-time insights of how that application is performing. And that goes beyond just seeing how the CPU and the memory of the machine are performing where the application lives. And of course, today a lot of things are running inside of containers and microservices. So it kind of opens up and requires more modern technology to be able to actually monitor the expectations of these type of new applications that are running today. We're also talking a lot about AI ops. I'm not sure how far things have come. It's not a new buzzword, but we do see it a lot recently, right, Vincent, when it comes to more modernizing the observability stack.
It actually kind of replaced all the machine learning ops. So basically what we're getting into now is indeed the AI ops, but it's been nothing new, because since the advent of data science, it's been growing in that direction.
Mm-hmm. But there is a lot of interesting development, of course, that we're also investing in on this topic. This will be something that we will bring up in a future webinars, that, just to see how you can, just connect maybe, local LLMs to try to help you troubleshoot stuff, both data coming from SCOM or from Grafana, etc. So keep an eye on that in the future as well. So Vincent, do you want to share a little bit on maybe why we have chosen to work with Grafana as well as with Microsoft these days?
Yeah, so the first thing I would say is if anybody has any experience with APM in SCOM, that might have not been the smoothest and not the best working. And APM, just to refresh your memory, was basically an effort to kind of look inside .NET applications and monitor what's happening. Kind of fast forward to today, that's pretty much what OpenTelemetry does for us. So basically getting traces from applications and checking those in something like Grafana, or it could be something else. It could be Datadog or any other competitor. But yeah, anything with OpenTelemetry, you can send metrics and also logs to any place you like.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of the reasons we've chosen Grafana, and let Jonas name us a couple more.
No, when we were actually, like I mentioned before, we did see, people wanted more from SCOM. We did see, the majority of the development was going into Azure Monitor, but a lot of people, they didn't want to put their workloads maybe inside of Azure Monitor, or they had another cloud vendor. And when we looked at a partner that could offer, just at least a platform that was primarily focusing around monitoring and observability, and that it could actually provide a solution that could be run on-prem on your data center, Grafana was like a very natural choice for us to work with together. Of course, there were no native integrations today between Grafana and SCOM, because Grafana is more like natively cloud development and the type of technologies behind it. And I think that most people, when they hear Grafana, it's about dashboarding, and dashboarding is also one thing that's very interesting when it comes to SCOM as well. And I think that for the people who have seen Grafana, is that the visualization is, it's really nice looking. And when you kind of combine it with the data sources and the databases, the time series databases, etc., you can actually see that the speed of these dashboards will be extremely fast, even if you add a lot of data on it. And the second part is also, of course, that you don't get restricted to only work with SCOM data when you work with this. You can actually combine multiple data sources into one holistic view. So you can have your SCOM data, you can have SQL queries, you can connect to Azure, you can connect to AWS, all in one dashboard. So that's a huge benefit for us as well. And it's a very interesting company to work with because they spend so much time and effort on working with monitoring and observability. So let's bring that to the topic of SCOM as a modern data collection engine then. How do you see, Vincent, the SCOM today and how it kind of uses and collects data from agents today?
Well, SCOM is still one of the strongest data collection engines out there. It's been tried and tested. There are like literally millions of agents out there, SCOM agents collecting data from various servers. Also, not only in Microsoft environments, but even more so in the open source world, so on Linux servers and so on. So we see that, and it's very strong, especially because there's a strong deployment mechanism in the agents, be it SCOM itself or any other products in the System Center suite. So yeah, collecting data with SCOM is still pretty easy. And also one of the very strong points is that you can also have the management packs, which basically run on those agents.
Yeah, and just bringing in knowledge and the predefined thresholds. Of course, you have to adjust them to meet but that is a huge benefit and to actually get started with these things, because as soon as you kind of evaluate any type of other project, you realize you kind of have to reinvent that stuff all over again. There's so much actually that SCOM brings you by default. So you don't have to spend all that time just setting these things up. So it's a great tool actually for data collection. It's more about, okay, so what can we now do with the data instead of just collecting it and storing it inside of a data warehouse where hopefully somebody might query it through reporting services sometime. But we all know that that's been kind of a little bit of a problematic child to get people to use the data right. So what we wanted to do then is to kind of combine these things, to use SCOM as its strength to collect and even alert on the stuff, but collect data and to export, doing snapshots of SCOM, and to export that data into a more modern time series database. And the benefit of that is that the query time is so much faster because the time series databases are actually built to handle huge amount of data compared to, of course, a SQL database can manage a huge amount of data as well, but it's the relational type of the database means that it's not as fast to query the data. So a lot of times when you are going to do complex questions or queries to the SCOM data warehouse, it can take a lot of time. So this actually gets rid of that kind of hurdle to query the information fast. So this is what we would like to do a quick demonstration of today. Is there anything else, Vincent, that you would like to add on the topic of the Prometheus exporter?
Well, yeah, maybe the reasons why we want quick access to our data in a Grafana environment, and that would be if we want to do any type of operation. So could it be predictive analytics or something like regression analysis or capacity planning? We tried that before in SCOM and with the data warehouse, which was always a little bit problematic. It could kind of be done, but with the advent of Grafana, and the databases, so the NoSQL databases, this becomes a lot more viable and quicker.
Yep. All right, so let's move over to give you a little bit of a showcase on how SCOM could look like in Grafana using the SCOM exporters. We're going to switch over to one of the development environments here. So to start with, maybe Vincent, you can just give a brief update on the GitHub project and the project itself, because I'm not sure if we kind of mentioned, but the project is open source, right?
Sure. So basically what we've done is we created an exporter for data from SCOM into Grafana, and basically the different databases of Grafana. I won't mention them here because that's another topic in itself. But first, we kind of embraced the open source community in this because we thought, well, we want everybody to be able to make use of this because we're excited about this technology as well. And it is a project, and it's developed in .NET. So you can run it on any SCOM server because it still runs on the .NET framework 4.7.2 and higher, so 4.8. Basically, you can run it. And because it's not .NET Core, obviously you still have to run it on a Windows platform. Now it makes use of the SCOM SDK. So you just basically connect into SCOM, and from there you export all the data to, well, basically scrapable endpoints. Did I leave anything out, Jonas?
No, we'll go through the rest of the stuff as well. But what we would encourage you to do if you try to clone it or try to run it, if you find any issues with it, just report it on the issues page here, and some of us will pick it up, or I know that we have some attendees here outside of AppsLogix that have been contributing to some of the other open source initiatives. They might come up with other solutions, and we will work on this together as well. So
obviously, also, if you're excited about this project and you feel like contributing, then you're always more than welcome to do so.
And it's also a great opportunity to, well, dig into the code to see how you can actually work and extend SCOM by yourself as well, because everything, all the code is here as well. So let's see how the application runs. Like Vincent mentioned before, this is a C# application running in .NET. Today I have 3 different projects inside of the solution. So the one that I'm running here behind is a debug application of the solution. So it can also be configured as a service. So you today have to manually register the service using the sc create command. But now when I'm running this demo, I'm using just starting the debug, which is just the console application, right?
Just one side note, Jonas. Jonas, you're running it in Visual Studio in debug mode, but you can also download all the binaries from the GitHub repository and run the debug mode just from the command line or install the service.
Yeah, so you have that one here, so you know that, and this will be updated manually when we have new releases as well. So just for you to know, so you don't have to have Visual Studio installed to get it up and running. So the first thing that you need to do is to just update and change the management server that you are going to connect to. We do require or recommend to start with to connect to local host. You have one management server where you run it on, and then connect to it from here. At least for now, to start with. Usually don't need to have any username or password configured here. At least this will run. If you have it running as a service, it would use the username and password for the service itself. But we do have a couple of parameters that we can configure here. So we have something called the scrape interval. This is how often it will actually go and connect to SCOM to query the data. By default, this is every 60 seconds, just so you know that. So every 60 seconds, it will take a snapshot of the data that we have configured here that will actually go and request them. So there is a couple of things that we can extract from SCOM. Sorry?
One thing, if you're not familiar with Grafana, we talk about scraping. Maybe you could give a little bit of context about that, Jonas?
Yeah, so the scraping here is not from a Grafana perspective. This is more how often do we, from the exporter, request information from SCOM. So this is just how often do we query SCOM. But when it comes to Prometheus and Grafana, we're talking more about scraping data, because we usually have one module that's exposing the data, and then we have another part that's coming to get the data from the endpoint itself. So hopefully this is something that we can show in the other examples later on. But maybe is there anything, Vincent, that you would like to add there?
Yeah,
explain.
Before I started using Grafana and pretty much any open telemetry or Prometheus, the term scraping was a little bit alien to me, but scraping is just basically collecting data from a endpoint.
Good. So if there's anything else, Vincent, please fill in and explain it as well from a SCOM admin perspective.
Yeah.
So let's start with, we can actually go and extract alerts from SCOM. It takes, get all the current alerts. It keeps like a ledger of all the alerts it have, and then it just gets the new alerts every time it pulls the information from it. This information can be configurable, so you can just say, okay, I want the alerts true or false. The same goes with events. And the event part is something that's pretty interesting, because events is something that most people don't use in SCOM, because they usually just end up in an event view in SCOM, and it's impossible to actually query the information from there. But if you would like to have like the centralized logging solution, it's a really good way to actually let SCOM collect the events and then forward using the exporter into a centralized logging solution as well. So this is something where the exporter can be used as well. Then, of course, we can export the status of monitors. So this will it will return the current state of any monitor that's available. So it will return like 0, 1, 2, 3, depending on if it's like healthy, warning, critical, or unavailable, for example. So all of these are configurable, so you can set true, false, depending on which type of information that you really want to have inside of the exporter itself. Then, of course, for the metrics, most of them are configured as rules, and we can say that we want the rules. We can also say that we want to exclude or include different rules, and this is something that we can use using regular expressions to say that we don't want anything, but we do want just the operating system, for example, all the rules available for any type of Windows machine, just to keep like neat all the data. We do have another parameter here that comes with the mapping. This is something that we're not going to go into too much today. It's more something that you can do if you're missing counter types. You could actually manipulate them here to say what type of counter a certain rule should be if it's kind of missing that inside of the solution. So you can see here that there's some of the things that we can enable and disable. We can also use scoping inside of SCOM. So if you set up a different user that the service should run on, you can also set up permissions to say that this user should only be able to query data for this scope, for example, for a certain type of machines, or how it works with the scoping and SCOM in general. So you can use that in conjunction with this configuration settings. Right, so when this is running, you can see that we will actually just have, this is the debug application running in behind. So this will just, every 60 seconds, it will go out to SCOM and say, give me all of the current rules, alerts, event, and monitors, and just loop through them, and then it will wait for 60 seconds more. When the service is starting up, it will read all the available rules, it will read all the available classes, etc. And it will not do that every time. So every 60 seconds, it would just get the performance of the rules for each instance that it already have. But if, for example, you would be in SCOM, say that you're going to create a new group or do something in it, it will detect a configuration change, and then it will reload all of these things behind the scenes. So this is just to speed up, so it doesn't have to do this every time it gets the data as well. So this is more from a performance perspective. Did I miss anything here, Vincent?
Well, no, we can always talk about performance, but I think we've been talking about this long enough, and we want to see some nice dashboards.
All right, we are going to move before we are going to some nice dashboards. We're going to look at. We talked about scraping before, right? So this is the exporter exposes an interface, a web interface, and this is like a Prometheus native interface. This is how it looks like. The exporter gets data, it just extracts it like this, and this is Prometheus native interface, so you can actually have any type like open telemetry or anything just to go and grab this data. So if it does look a little bit strange, this is because this is how it looks like. So you can query the endpoint of the exporter in different ways. This is the default one. This is just showcasing like internal metrics for the exporter itself. But if we would append /all to this one, it will take all the available monitors, rules available for this whole instance that we have. And we can see that there is a lot of stuff actually being available to be collected. If we would like to say that, yeah, but I would only like to have data available for one specific group, for example. So I don't want all the data available for exporting into Grafana, for example. I could just choose to make one of these groups available for the exporter. So any type of group here, you can just take the name of it. This is the display name. We're using the class name today, so you just have to append in the URL the name of the class itself, and it will just narrow it down. So these are only the metrics available for this specific group. And where this goes might be interesting is that you might have like application team A. They want the data for their team going into one Grafana instance, and then you have application team B, and they want to have their data going into a different place. So you can actually you can divide the data going into different places in one easy step. If we look at the next step, then of course is that when the data is available now, we need to have something that is collecting this data, and this maybe is a little bit different from SCOM then as well, because this is just exposing the data, and we do need to have something that is collecting the data and forwarding this into Grafana. So in this case, we're using something called Grafana Alloy, and Grafana Alloy is Grafana's, could you say Grafana's SCOM-ish agent?
Yes, it operates in pretty much the same way.
Yes. So this agent actually goes to the endpoint, collects all the metrics, and then forward everything to, in this case, we are forwarding this one to Grafana Cloud now. But this could be a local installation of Grafana. It could be any type of solution that is open telemetry enabled or supported. So it doesn't have to be Grafana as well. And you can have multiple endpoints. You can, for example, set that one of these data sources go to Grafana Cloud, and the next one goes to on-prem, or it can go to both of them at the same time. And you can configure this agent so it can drop certain type of labels or counters. It can relabel them, rename them, etc. So there's so much things they can do inside this agent. This is something that's a little bit maybe for a different session on how it works, but this is valuable to understand how that you're dependent on having an agent to actually forward this data over to some type of endpoint. So how does this look like when we have it forwarded over to Grafana then? So we have created just a simple dashboard for this webinar. And this is an example of an small installation that we have inside of our environment. And this is an overview of some of the SCOM agents that we have installed here. So you can see just a basic overview showcasing the host name, the operating system, how much memory we have, memory usage, CPU, disk total, etc. This view here shows if there's any alert related to it. We can see now that we only have the last 6 hours. We can maybe change over to 12 hours. Not too much happening in between here. No more alerts, just one alert in this environment. So this is very clean, it's too small. So I'm guessing that is the reason why we don't have too many alerts. But one interesting thing to see behind the scenes then is that you see that the graphs that we have behind here is CPU, memory, free disk, basic operating performance counters. So just by switching, for example, from 24 hours over to 7 days, you can see how fast the data in the graphs are changing. So this is like it's a complete different experience, right, Vincent, compared to SCOM. You know that you have been working with SCOM for so many years.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's that is very refreshing to say the least.
Yeah, and this is just an example dashboard. This is just like starting point for things. How would you like to see it? You can combine this and do it just the way you would like to do, because the customization of this one is endless. And also, like I mentioned before, you can add your own data sources into this one and combine it with multiple things as well. And of course, with the basic things, you would of course like some type of drill down into it. So you can just click on a machine, it goes into just this specific machine. You can do like the same that I did before. You can just switch the hours. You can zoom in on the hours and see how this changes. So, but all of the data that we have now, this is just for the operating system. So of course, all of the data from SCOM is available here. So in this example here, I just added a filter. This is just what Grafana called a drill down. This is just for exploring what data we have. So I added a prefix. So everything that comes from the exporter adds SCOM in the beginning. So if I just add SCOM here, this will give me all the SCOM stuff. And then I add a suffix filter here saying that I only want milliseconds and percentage. So it starts with SCOM and it ends with milliseconds or percentage. And these are all the stuff that we have available only for this. And just to recap on the performance, you see all the counters we have here available. If we just want to change this again over to 7 days, this is how fast the data is being drawn on all of these things. So what can we do with this data then, Vincent, now when we have it in Grafana?
Well, there are a lot of things we can do with the data now because it's a lot quicker. But one of the nice things is that you can do analysis on it. I think you have a dashboard for example, ping. Can you show that one?
Yeah, we have the ping stuff. I can actually go here and do this. So this is a forecast inside of Grafana that we created just from the ping management pack that I know that a lot of people are using today. So we just created a new forecast. We choose one of the available SCOM counters for ping jitter from the ping management pack. And it will just show you today, this is the actual value of the ping until today. And then it will continue a predicted graph of this one. And there's multiple ways where you can actually configure, the thresholds and how this depends, because the forecasting is very special. You need to kind of understand what type of data, how it should behave, etc. But you can manipulate these things as well. But it's very interesting for people. We know that we had discussions with people running like data stores in VMware to predict, when it's time to add more disks or a memory or stuff like that. And you already have all of that data inside of SCOM, so it's about kind of utilizing and reusing that type of data as well. Do we have anything else, Vincent, that we think that we can do with the data?
Yes, there are a couple of other things. We can do outlier analysis, for example. I'm not sure if you have an example for that.
No, I don't.
Well, this is kind of capacity analysis already. We can do some other regressions with this, but basically you can do many things with the data in here which you would like. You can also correlate it very easily. So if you have a different data sets and you have some common variable on them, then you can correlate them and very easily kind of make graphs to see what's going on in your environment and how they are correlated, and if one error, for example, has to do with something else.
Yeah.
But the possibilities are pretty much endless in this respect.
And also, like Vincent said before, it's very interesting because you can actually see, if you deep dive into one of these metrics, you can actually say that, okay, what do you have any other related metrics to this one that looks almost the same? And say, okay, here are some of the other ones. So you're encouraged to actually go and deep dive and to explore the metrics in a different way that weren't actually possible before when you had to work with SCOM only on a SQL basis, right?
And I guess it's kind of out of the scope of this webinar, but we'll be talking about tracing some other time and adding traces to your data, and that will give you a whole new dimension of kind of how you debug and troubleshoot your environment.
Exactly. So I know that we are running short on time, and we would like to see if we have some questions later on after this session. But yeah, so to wrap this a little bit, this was just like an introduction to what you can do with it. We are very excited about these things because for us it feels like it's opening up a new dimension, a new world of the data that you're already collecting with SCOM, right, Vincent?
Yeah, that's correct.
And SCOM still, has its place where it is today, and I could probably see that people might even consider, if you have this in place, to continue developing, your custom management pack for your custom applications, bringing that type of data in here and doing like rich visualizations and alerting, etc., inside of these things. So combining this, like the Grafana part together with SCOM, it feels like you're bringing the best of both worlds together.
Definitely.
And of course that it enables a smooth coexistence. So you're not saying that, yeah, we're going to throw out SCOM now, we need to find something else. This is about, it's different type of technologies, and it actually, if you find a way that they work together, it can be like a really neat solution actually that brings more value than to throw one of the other ones out of the equation at least. So we have already discussed this one. I know that the like local LLMs we will have. Well, we are going to have an upcoming webinar on that later on. But what we can help you with, if you are curious to explore these things, is that we can, of course, help you set up the exporter to get you up and running and to explore these things. If there's anything you would like to get help with. And of course, the whole creating dashboards, etc. If there anybody who kind of needs assistance there, you're free to reach out to us. And I know that when it comes to exploring advanced AI ops, that is something that you're working with a lot today, Vincent, right? So any type of discussions there, you're very open for that.
Yeah, definitely.
And like we mentioned before, we have a lot of stuff going on when it comes to the open source community stuff and the contribution to open source. So we touched on the SCOM Prometheus exporter today. You might know that we also have a SCOM data source where you can connect Grafana directly to the SCOM API. We are going to have a future webinar on that topic, as well on the Grafana Alert Manager management pack, where you can actually connect SCOM to Grafana Alert Manager And this is something that's going to be very interesting for you guys to see as well. If you want to bring in like Linux workloads, monitoring them in Grafana, but you still want to reuse SCOM as your centralized hub for incidents, etc. And then, of course, a separate session with you, Vincent, on what you can do with local LLMs and SCOM as well.
Yeah. That's an exciting one.
Yeah. So I'm not sure the Q&A stuff. If it's, we can see if we do have some questions in the chat, because I'm not sure if it's possible to. I think that we can inactivate for the microphone as well, but we have some questions at least here. So
let's see. One thing for
scaling. Yeah. Okay. So we have. So we start with caller then. Young guys, yeah.
Great to see you guys. How about the top down? How easy is it to drill down dashboard, linked dashboards? Maybe you can say a word about that.
Yeah, well, it's no problem to link dashboards, because as soon as you have some common, like if it's the machine, if you have like some, it needs to have a way to relate in between, right? So as long as you have like the instance path of these things, it's pretty easy to actually do drill down on it. That's what we showed in the first dashboard, when you have the machine, and then you can drill down into different part of it as well. So the drill down is built inside of it. It's just to find, the common parameters that you want to drill in between. So if you want to drill into the disks, you of course need to have the path to the machine in the disk name as well to be able to do that type of correlation as well. So
does it take any extra setup? Maybe that's
setup for the dashboard. We have a couple of just custom dashboard that we have created, because I'm not sure everything is custom today, I would say, right?
Yeah. No, but I would say about the drill downs, you do need to kind of create the drill downs yourself. But once you've done that, you need to kind of do some variable replacements. You have to do some work with it, but once you've done it, then the drill down becomes very easy. And like Jonas says, there needs to be a relationship between the objects.
Yeah, and you can do that between using like regular expressions and stuff like that. So it's just, you kind of just need to understand how it works, and as soon as you kind of understand how it works, it gets much more easy to work with as well.
There's another question from Gerald. Gerald, essentially you're copying SCOM data, correct? When using the exporter, could we reduce the data warehouse retention? Potentially, yes. If you're exporting all the data into Grafana, you could potentially even almost do without a data warehouse. So it really depends what you want to do. But if you plan to house all your data in Grafana, for example, then yes, you could reduce it greatly.
Yeah, but of course you need to have the retention inside of the Grafana data source instead. So it depends on how long you need to save the data. Yeah, like Vincent said, you could do that. It all depends on also are you actually querying that data at all. But what we're doing now, the export is taking data from the SCOM and the ops DB, not the data warehouse as well. So that's also important to know. But yeah, you could do that. That's correct. I think we had one more question in the Q&A. Scaling from Peter. Okay, so what do you need except SCOM when you have, for example, 1,000 agents and want to make Grafana your master console? So in this case, we are talking about, we didn't want to go in too deep into the requirements for this setup, but the exporter is kind of requiring that, of course, you have the Grafana dashboard as a dashboarding solution. Depending on how many servers you have, that's not for the dashboarding itself, because the dashboarding is more how many users will you be having to access the environment, and also at the same time, of course. The dependent on how many machines you're going to store data from. Let's say that we have 1,000 machines. It's about how much performance are we going to store in a component called Grafana Mimir. And that depends on how much data do we have, how long do we want to keep the data, but it's built to this type of data or database is built to handle massive amount of data. So I can't give you like a quick answer on how big it can be, because it as always, it depends how much data you want to collect.
Well, let's put it this way, it scales way better than a SQL database.
Way better. Way better.
So if you really want some numbers, then we would need to do some calculations. But
yeah,
as a rule of thumb, the scaling goes a lot better into terabytes.
Yes.
Okay. There's another one question from Chuck. Will this exporter also pull reporting from Unix Linux agents monitored by SCOM? I'm not sure what you mean by reporting, but definitely if you have Unix and Linux agents and you have the Unix/Linux management pack installed, then you will also pull data from there.
Yes, that's correct. So any type of information available in SCOM will be and can be exposed and extracted over here without having an extra agent on it. If you think that this type of topic is interesting, I think that upcoming webinar on the Grafana Alert Manager MP as well is interesting, because it's not only the agent, it's also the workload on the Linux agent that could be a little bit issue to get the workloads on up and running. So keep an eye on that webinar in the future as well. But that question, yes, it's completely possible to do that. It works out of the box.
I think we answered all the questions. Is there nothing more in the chat? No, I think not. All right.
No, all right. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, big thank you.
Yeah.
And we hope to see you in the next one.
And we know it's a lot of information, a lot about new information as well. So don't be afraid to reach out. We can set up individual calls to discuss, your specific needs. And if you have any questions in general, how it works, because like we mentioned, there's a lot of new technologies that we're talking about, new ways on how to work with this. So we know how it is. So don't be afraid to reach out. All right.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.